Hello everyone. Do you think you could use these model photos for your projects? Perhaps for a presentation, a YouTube thumbnail, or a photo montage. Do you want to know how to create them? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create stunning images of people with different expressions, such as sadness, happiness, joy, and more, using AI image generators like Midjourney. Using these generators, you can control various aspects of the generated images, such as the age, gender, and ethnicity of the people in the images, what clothes they are wearing, and even poses and expressions. This is a huge advantage for small content creators because they don't have to pay expensive out-of-pocket fees for actual models to pose for their photos, or pay image copyright fees to use someone else's content on their projects. Instead, you can use these AI-generated images to create visually stunning content such as YouTube thumbnails, videos, presentations, and photo montages. So, if you want to learn how to create beautiful images of people using AI technology, keep watching. This could be a thumbnail for this video and it asks, "Can you all work for $10?" Of course, this is a joke. All of the people in the thumbnail were generated using Midjourney V5, which means they don't actually exist and don't expect to be paid. The $10 represents the basic monthly subscription fee for Midjourney, which will allow you to generate a reasonable number of images for use in your projects. If you want to test it out before purchasing, there is a free trial available in Midjourney for you to use and see if you get the results you expect. 0.4 hours of GPU time should give you about 25 attempts at generating images. I believe you will find that with the information in this video, you will be able to generate the images you seek. Midjourney uses Discord, a messaging app, as the interface to interact with its powerful AI. This means that in order to interact with Midjourney and generate images, you must have Discord installed on your device. I'll include a link to Discord in the video description, as well as some simple instructions on how to configure it for Midjourney interaction. I'll also use Bing Chat to help me generate prompts with advanced camera settings so that Midjourney can produce the most photorealistic images possible. If you want to learn more about using Bing Chat as a prompt generator for Midjourney, I have a full video on that I posted earlier. So now that we have the tools, let's get started. I'm going to open the Bing browser and click Chat, and once inside the chatbot screen, I'm going to select the option for Creative Conversation Style. The following step is to use what I call a Bing primer, which is nothing more than a request for Bing to assist in creating and writing a prompt for Midjourney, followed by an example of one that has previously worked well in generating the type of images that we want to achieve today. I'll leave the paragraph for the primer on the video description below so you can try it yourself. You must ensure that Bing provides this type of response, in which it confirms that it will assist you with the prompts and then begins to provide examples that are similar to the primer, which is exactly what we want. If you do not receive this response, reload your browser and try again. Bing can be temperamental, and it may refuse to assist you with prompts on occasion, but this method works 95% of the time. For Bing to stay on topic, we will need to ask it a question. If we give it a prompt, will it help us to modify it? Again, you want a positive response from Bing, and in this case, Bing has already written out the prompt that we used as an example for the primer. To keep us on track, I'll copy and paste the same prompt again to reinforce that this is the prompt we'll be working on. And Bing responds by asking what we want to change. That's perfect. We can now make requests, and I'd like to begin by changing the image's subject to a young woman sitting, with the image encompassing her entire body. I'll also ask that the scene be kept in a studio setting with a white background, as this was used with good results in the priming example. In my experience, if we do end up with a white background, it is much easier to remove it later so that we can use the model's image in any other content that we desire. And there we have it, Bing has changed the prompt so that we get a photo of a young woman sitting and smiling. It adds its own interpretation and flair, which I find useful because I prefer it to pick the clothing and even the model's expression in this case. We can now copy the prompt and move it over to Discord to paste it and see what happens. If you haven't tried Midjourney in Discord before, here's a quick rundown. Once you've entered the Midjourney server, enter a / and then click the Imagine button. You're now ready to paste the Bing prompt. Midjourney will begin generating your image as soon as you press enter. It will always generate 4 images, which means you have 4 options to choose from, or, as I prefer to think of it, 4 attempts at generating the image that you want. This is our first result. As you can see, there are 4 images of young ladies wearing blue dresses with blonde curly hair. When compared to the prompt, we can see that these features are exactly what was requested. However, the studio set lacks a white background and not all of the ladies have their legs crossed, which is to be expected. Midjourney rarely delivers everything you asked, but given that you have 4 images, at least one of them should be what you wanted, be close, or even exceed your expectations. Everything is possible. I'll increase my chances by clicking the reload button, which will use the same prompt to display 4 more images, giving me a total of 8 to choose from. And here we have 2 images that are very close to the prompt, complete with white backgrounds. I am going to upscale image number 3 to take a closer look. This one appeals to me because the model is completely within the frame, her entire body is visible, and there are no anatomical issues. Now I am going to upscale image number 4 as well. Although the tip of the foot has been cut off from the image, I believe it is still usable for certain types of montages. Now let's go back to Bing. We will ask it to modify the prompt so that the models change to a yellow blouse and blue jeans. When I get good prompts, I give positive feedback to the bot so that its algorithm knows when it's producing them correctly. I also requested that the aspect ratio be changed to 1:1 to avoid any limbs being cut off as we have a seating person. The entire image will work better if it is more over square. Let's now take the modified prompt to Discord and see what results we get with these changes. Aside from the clothing, the image should be very similar to the previous ones, but hopefully the model's figure will be completely within frame. And, for the most part, that's what we got, but I see some issues with limbs and hands, which are common when generating photos of people with Midjourney, so let's re-roll the dice and try again with the same prompt. This is a trial and error game, and you will find yourself trying to generate the same image several times. Fortunately, Midjourney can also surprise you and give you an image that, while not what you expected, is something different that you really like. When we zoom in, we can see that the first photo is one of those bizarre things that Midjourney creates, where a hand can be seen in place of a foot. So, while this image is obviously unsuitable for our purposes, the 2 images that follow appear to be quite good. However, when we enlarge the second image, we can see that the teeth of this model are also unusual, so we'll try to upscale the third image. And, yes, we finally got one. Anatomically, there are no problems. The model appears to be happy and smiling. She is on a white background, wearing a yellow blouse and blue jeans as requested. This is exactly what we were looking for. I'm going to save it for a future project. I recommend that creators save all of the images that they find appealing, so that they can build a database that they can use in the future. I find myself going back to images that I generated weeks ago that were not what I was looking for at the time, but because I liked them and saved them, I was able to use them eventually. So, now that you've seen how we can use Bing to modify a prompt that previously generated good images for us in the studio setting, I'm going to show you a few more examples of what I generated in this particular day in quick succession. Here I asked Bing to change the prompt to generate an image of a man yelling angrily. And this was the end result. I didn't get the white background, but I'm pleased with the image overall. You can see the man's expression, which is clearly angry, and I have an idea for how I could use this image. That is something that drives anyone insane. Next, I asked Bing to change the prompt again because I wanted to generate an image of an elderly woman laughing. I requested that the image be kept in the studio setting with a white background, and that the camera and lens settings be adjusted so that the image included the entire body. Let's take a look at the results. Again, we got some strange ones where the lady on the top right appears to have no arms, and the first and fourth images are slightly cut off, but the third image is pretty good and will be used for my next idea. Because the initial images were essentially just headshots, I had to ask Bing to change the aspect ratio to 9:21, which is more like the portrait mode photos you get on your smartphone. This worked well as I could get the image down to around the knee area. Let's move on to the next image that I want to create, which is of a child to interact with this elderly lady in a certain image montage. According to my experience, Bing may cut you off when describing the body of a child. This is one of the safety features that Microsoft implemented after Bing was reported to have responded unethically to some questions when it was first released. These are minor issues that, hopefully, will be resolved, and we must keep in mind that Bing is still in the trial stage. As you see, the bot is responding with the prompt, but then it stops and erases what it wrote. At this point, you have no option but to start the whole conversation again. Instead, I decided to try to modify the prompt myself in Discord in order to obtain the image of the young girl. I copied and pasted the previous prompt, which was of a teenager laughing, into the Imagine text box and began changing it. I mentioned that she appeared scared, that her mouth and eyes were wide open, she had long brown hair, and that she was wearing a pink t-shirt and purple pants. You can definitely try this approach yourself. I believe that if you already have a good base prompt to work with, you should be able to get good results even if it takes a little more time to modify it. Bing is most useful when you need to change something in the prompt that is more technical, such as camera and lens settings. And this is how it turned out. On this rare occasion, Midjourney gave me everything I asked for in the prompt, right down to the expression and the clothing. Even the hands appear to be in good shape. Now that I have my two subjects, the elderly lady and the girl, I'm going to use them in a montage that I've imagined. To do that, I'll return to Bing and ask it to modify a base prompt to create the background for my image. I used our previous primers to get Bing to think about Midjourney prompts, and then I asked it to give me a prompt for a haunted house living room illuminated by candles in a Halloween setting. I also requested some carved pumpkins in the scene, and no people. After reading the generated prompt, I noticed that the aspect ratio was a 3:4, which would not work for what I wanted to create, in this case a YouTube thumbnail. So I requested that the aspect ratio be changed to 16:9, which is the standard aspect ratio for most TVs and monitors, as well as the aspect ratio of YouTube thumbnails. I could have done this manually after copying the prompt to Discord, but if you have a chatbot assistant, why not delegate most of the work to it? It's time to paste the prompt into Discord and see what Midjourney comes up with. Because it's a Halloween scene, I'm expecting something eerie and rather dark. Let's take a look and see. Out of these four options, I think the third one is probably more in line with what I was looking for, and the way the angle is on the image, I can picture where I can put our two characters in there, but it appears that Midjourney forgot the carved out pumpkins, so we'll have to sort that out. I asked Bing to change the prompt so that we could get an image of two carved out pumpkins and nothing else, and we'll see if that works. The plan here is to get the pumpkins and incorporate them into the montage to get it closer to what I want it to be. I noticed that the prompt it generated included a wooden table covered in a black cloth, which could be difficult to incorporate into the image. I'd rather have nothing but pumpkins. So I asked Bing to remove the wooden table and change the scene to an interior of a studio with a white background. And, true to form, Midjourney delivers. Well, sort of. There isn't much of a white background on all but the first image, so I'm going with that one. It's time to edit the images we received from Midjourney so they can be used in the montage. The first step is to go to the PicWish website, a link will be provided in the video description, and use its AI tool, to remove the background from all but the haunted living room picture. Let's start by clicking on the Remove Background button. Next, we click the Upload Image button, notice how it says 100% free, and select the image from which we want to remove the background. In this case, I'll begin with the elderly lady who is laughing. And that is it, the background has been removed. It is as simple as that. Now just click the Download Image button to save the image with no background to your computer, as we will need it later. I'm going to repeat this process for the girl's picture as well as the carved-out pumpkins. I demonstrated how to remove the background of images in PicWish because I want you to be able to experiment with this entire process without spending any money. If you've never used Midjourney before, I recommend starting with the free trial and generating images using the techniques I've demonstrated here. We now have all of our images ready and can proceed to the final stage, which is to create the montage in Canva. I have a Canva Pro account, but none of the steps I'm about to show require Canva's Pro features to create our final montage image. Canva is a web-based tool that allows you to easily edit images and videos. A link will be provided in the video description, and the majority of it is free. Because my vision for what we're about to create is one for a YouTube thumbnail, I select that option from the Create a Design button. We will now upload all of the images we created in PicWish to Canva so that we can include them in our montage. Then we will move them in the Canva page to determine their placement within the frame. We'll begin with the background, which is our image of Grandma's haunted living room, which she set up to surprise her granddaughter when she returned home from school. To do this, click on the image of the living room in the left sidebar and it will appear in the frame, then simply stretch its corners into place to cover the entire blank area. There. That is the background done. Let's move on to the carved-out pumpkins. To begin, grab their corner, which will make them larger or smaller depending on which direction you move your mouse. You can then move them into place within your picture. Let's try here first and then grab the grandma to compare the positioning. Let's set her here but move her layer to the back, by right-clicking on her image and choosing layer, then send backwards, so that she is standing behind the pumpkins. I think we can move them both to the left a bit. There. Now let's grab the surprised little girl, resize her, and place her as well. I am trying to get her to be proportionate to the living room and the furniture too. How does that look? It's time to place the title of the thumbnail by clicking on the text button on the left. Let's see if we can decide on a font. Maybe something matching the girl's outfit. Here. I think this will work. Now for the title, something that a kid would say. Let's try this. What do you think? All that is left now is to size and place the title in the correct spot. That is the end result of our montage, in which AI tools did the majority of the work. You can now go to the File menu and download the image to your computer until you're ready to use it. It's incredible to think that this would not have been possible just a few years ago. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.